This is Castor's first time in the new pasture, so I've moved him from the round pen kind of area, his little pen, to an actual larger pasture with electric fence, and we already tested out the electric fence, and I just split the little pen he was in two, so he already understood what it meant, and we did that for a couple days, and then I put him out here. So he's going to have a bit of a context shift here because it's a new area. There's a lot bigger space. He's not going to feel as trapped. So it's going to be a little bit different for him. So here I'm just going back a few steps and making sure that he's okay with me touching him. You can tell that he's a little bit worried about it. And again, I'm going to fast forward through the parts where he's eating, but pay attention to his body language because it is important. Like, you see how he's standing and he's kind of splayed out a little bit, like he could kind of back up at any point. He'll kind of lean back a little bit when I approach him. He's looking away to his right here while I touch him, like he's letting this happen, but he's not exactly completely okay with it. He's thinking about being somewhere else. So he is in conflict pretty much this entire time because he wants to eat the food that I have, but he's also afraid of me touching him. So I should have definitely broken this down a lot more. Go and I do when as you go through the video here, I break it down a lot more. So I'm clicking here. I'm just kind of moving the food toward the back bottom of the bowl so you can get to it. But I do break it down a lot more and just go back to like him touching my hand, me approaching him, me just barely touching his face instead of like rubbing both hands on him. But I do that later on. So he's like, oh, I'm not super sure. And instead of like giving him time and stepping back here, I'm like, no, okay, you've already done this, so you must know what it is. But he doesn't because he's only been here for a couple weeks and the whole time I've been training him, he's been in conflict too. So yeah, it should be faster than that, but he wasn't comfortable where he was, and I just kept adding on to it. That's not gonna get you further. It's gonna take longer, and that's my biggest problem was he wasn't okay with the first thing, and then I just kept going and didn't pay attention to what he was telling me. So he's still not okay with this. He's still worried about my hand touching him. So I should have just let him just approached him, clicked a treat, give him the food, backed away, and then did that both sides from different angles, and then went ahead and just had him touch my hand with his nose and just have him target me and him come to me versus me coming and touching him. And he's only staying for the food, so that's where you create that conflict. See, he's got the looking away, he's got the leaning, and then he eventually is like, I'm too scared, I can't do this. And he'll leave. And so I'm like, I don't understand why you were leaving because I was like, oh, I thought he was okay with it. Like if he lets me touch him, then he's okay with it. If he's not running, he's okay with it. But that's not true. He's telling me with his body language that he's not okay with me coming toward him or me approaching him at all. So yeah, see me approaching him, he's like, not so sure. No, not okay because he's got his ears pricked. He's leaning back. He's backing up. Again, now he's leaning away to his left. See, and now he turns to his left. He's thinking. He's got his ear flicking to the left. So I'm just gonna say, like, hey, look, just take a break. You can have some food, which is probably a good move here. So I should have been here, clicked, backed up, gave him some food, and then I kept approaching instead. So definitely take it your time because it's not going to be helpful. So none of this is going to be helpful. But you watch too many like Mustang gentling videos, and that's what you do in negative reinforcement is you chase them until they look at you. And really, this isn't helping my situation. I'm just putting more pressure on. I'm just scaring him. And luckily for him, I mean, for me, is that he wants to come and eat the food, but again, that's creating the conflict. So that's where I could have gotten a lot of um, like aggressive behaviors, I could have gotten much other undesirable behaviors than I got here. So I've got really lucky because that's where you do with a lot of animals. They want the food, but they're afraid. So they grab it and they run. Or he could have bit it out of my hand and run. And he did. That's why he took so long to eat from my hand because he was in conflict that whole time. And later on in the series, you can see him lean back and he just comes for the food. Later on, you can see how I get him through this, and I really had to break things down. And I put him back in protective contact, and it was a process, but it's much, much better now. Like he's completely different horse. So it's just important to kind of see what the journey was with him because it wasn't easy and it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, but I learned a ton from it. Like, I definitely wouldn't change it, but it's just easier to look back and see all the mistakes you made. And I was like, okay, well, now I don't have to do that again. So, but you can see here, he's got his head tipped away. He's thinking about maybe going that way. He's not looking at me. He's not trying to interact with me. He's kind of just pretending I'm not there. So again, he's got his head away. He's got his kind of hip cocked away so he can kind of spin away if he had to. That was actually not bad. I should have backed up there and like released the pressure of my presence being there, but it's good for the nose target to my hand. That was good. But again, watch his body language. This is better. I made a good choice here where I've just backed off, gave him a minute because I should be just approaching, and then I should have stopped earlier because he leaned back, he took a step back. I shouldn't have gone on here to the touch. I should have taken like the one step forward where he was okay, given him some food, backed out. And really, I should have started that in protective contact with him inside and me on the outside. So again, he's looking away. And he's better with me at this distance for sure. But he's still not super comfortable. Again, backing up, looking at me weird. Like, well, he's got like his ears pointed and he's kind of arching his neck a little bit. He's kind of weary of me coming to touch him. But better with the taking the pressure of my presence off and just backing up. So like there I could have stopped. There, that was good. That was a nice time. I should have done that the whole time, worked my way up, worked him touching my hand, then him touching his head to my hand, and then me touching him. Once he's going ahead and targeting me, that creates that confidence. That was much better as well. Where he can touch me and he can and make me leave, and he has that control versus, okay, stand here while I touch you. So it makes them a lot less nervous about the whole thing. So again, he's leaning back. He took that step back. He's leaning away. He's not sure. I should have just backed up at this point. I didn't need a click and treat. I could just back up and try my approach to where I had a good one where I didn't put so much pressure on. I could click and treat. So he came around. I wasn't too bad, but I should have not gotten that close. There, I back it up again. Release some of that pressure. See, when he picks his head up really quick or he turns away, like a good part of this where he's eating out of this bowl, so he's kind of not sure here. He's kind of leaning back a little bit, like he might need to back up some from me. Is that you can tell kind of where they are mentally by how they bring their head up. So they're like, it's kind of like a start button here. So they're like, where are they at? Like if he pulls his head up really quickly, he's probably not ready for me to approach. This was much better. He didn't lean back as much. He's still skeptical, but better. So I should click that. Yep, that was pretty good. So I did do some good things in here. Give him a little bit of a jackpot. Yeah, that was much better. And be careful of this too, because like Atlas, my other Mustang, he was afraid of the jackpot at first because it was like the food hitting the bowl. I should have backed up here too. I shouldn't have stayed. I think what I thought at the time was, oh, well, he can eat the food with me next to him, but I should have left because that's going to give him the control of touching me and leaving. And then eventually he'll get over it on his own, but he'll be more confident because he has that control. So that was pretty good too. Better body language. He wasn't as worried. He actually stepped toward me that time. That was good. So not too bad.